Hello, everyone. Um, my name is Andrew Phay. I work for the Whatcom Conservation District, um, and I'm the IT GIS person here at the district. And I've been asked to do the project management databases in the cloud. Well, it's supposed to be project management options. I did this like 2014. Some of these slides are continuing on. So let's start in with how most of you, if you've already got a project management database, I'm guessing you're here just to see what the options are out there. And for those that are here that have never had a project management database in the cloud or are looking to get one, I'm going to go through some of the options there are out there and some of the things you need to actually think about when you're actually looking for a database. So one of the things that you need to think about when you're doing project management databases, well, we've already gone through that. Let's see. What are you trying to solve? So are you trying to manage projects? Do you need to keep track of the progress of those projects? How intricate of the information of those projects do you need? Are there things getting done in a timely fashion? On most of these projects, almost all the project management databases out there, you will find a date columns and time columns and that kind of stuff that will allow you to set dates and times for resolution of those tasks. So do you want to just store information on landowners? Some districts, that's all they want to do is just store the address, phone number, the P&I notes, all about the landowners or their farmers or whatever. That's all they want to do. They don't need to manage a project per se. Do you need to manage board meetings? Do you need to manage grants? We use Smartsheets for managing our board meetings. We use Smartsheets for managing grants along with other databases. Timeline and budget. Do you want to be able to figure out your timeline in a grant chart so you can see your timelines? Some databases have better options for that. Do you want to manage your budget completely or just a general management? Some databases you can get really intricate, and some it's better just to do a summarization of that and get very general with budgets. Do you want to be able to manage who's working on what at what time as a manager? If you have 2 people in the office, you probably don't need to do that. But if you have 25, you probably do need to figure out who's working on what and when are they working on it. Do you just want to be able to organize your thoughts? The databases today, probably not the best idea for organizing thoughts, but there are databases out there for that. And in some cases, something like OneNote or Evernote, those are databases. They're in the cloud, and you can organize your thoughts with them. Mind mapping software as well. It's a database. Do you want to manage time cards? And can the databases, the 2 that I'm going to show today, can they be used for time cards? Yes, they can. But are they easy to work with time cards? Can you query them 2-3 years later about something that happened and have all that information reported out? Different ways of doing it, different databases can do that stuff. You might have to go with a full-on online database time card application if you want really detailed reports later on, versus if you're just doing a straight time card like we used to do with Excel. If that's all you want, you can do it in Smartsheets. You can also do it in QuickBase as well. But if you are looking for a online database and you're going to a third party to actually set this up, be very careful what you're asking for. Because if you do pie in the sky stuff, that quote that they're going to give back to you is going to be pie in the sky worthy, because you may be asking for something that they have to build from scratch. Whereas if you figure out what you actually need versus what you want, it might be a little bit better on price wise. The cloud, yeah, just to get information, a kind of definition of what cloud computing is, what databases are in the cloud. This is a Wikipedia definition from a few years back. I just say stuff on the internet, because everything you do on the internet is part of the cloud. That's essentially it. So if you've never gone into databases, some people think you can use Excel as a database. It's not built for that. Can it be used for that? Yes, but with a lot of caveats, and it's not a very good idea. Just like you can drive a Pinto in an F1 race, but it's not going to be very good. Spreadsheet like Excel is different than a database like Smartsheets, and that's what I just popped up there. That's Smartsheets. But there is a contentious issue online with database admins whether Smartsheets is a database, a traditional database. And in my opinion, when people say that I want a database to do this, well, you got to ask yourself, okay, is this a traditional relational database, or is this a flat file database? And the reason you ask yourself that is a traditional database is a relational database. So customers, the customer field here, let's see. The customer field here is connected to locations and contacts and projects. So if you build a customer, you have different projects for that customer. And then you have many P&I notes for that customer. Versus up here, you can do that, but it's not done automatically. You actually have to link files together and cells together, and it's just not built for that. It's built for doing something different with the database. If you're looking for a flat file kind of database, Smartsheets is great for that. Versus if you're looking for something like a relational database, so you have many P&I notes for this customer, a relational database setup is a lot better. This one's QuickBase. Hopefully that makes sense. A lot of people have asked me, hey, can I use this to store all my customer information in? And I tell them, can they use Smartsheets? And I tell them that's not a good idea, because it's not a one-to-many relationship. It's a flat file, and it's not conducive to doing that. They say they're working on something to be able to do that, but they have not gotten that far yet. So if you want that kind of project management, like I'm storing customer information, you might want a relational database versus a flat file. Okay. And then why do we put databases in the cloud? Why do we put these project management databases in the cloud? Well, one of the reasons is you can access it anywhere, especially with everyone working from home nowadays. It's a big issue. And if you forgot to put some notes into it, Well, you can do it, a lot of these on your mobile device nowadays. So you can fix it right away instead of waiting till Monday to get to the office. You can stand on a manure lagoon and put information into it on your cell phone or your iPad, or you can be at home and do that. Multiple offices can work on the same database. That, and we're not talking just offices, you can do users as well. And one of the big things I do like about the cloud databases is they do the maintenance on the back end. You don't actually have to make sure Access is running correctly. You don't have to do the upgrades, the updates, and all that kind of stuff. They do it for you. Hopefully they give you warning before they do any major upgrades. Online databases, cloud databases, backups are a little easier, and you can automate them a little bit easier as well. So you can do these backups every day, every week, every month, whatever you want, and have them backed up in the background. So in case something happens, something drastic happens, you can actually get them back. Why not in the cloud? The biggest reason for most people is expense. Some of these cloud systems are rather pricey when you get into multiple users, and some of them not so much in the long run. Some of you probably spend more money on coffee in a few months than what a year cost of a database would be, but some of them can be really, really pricey. If it's not going to be a big project, I would say not go to the cloud unless you've already got an account, unless you've already got an online database. If it's for small projects, an Access database will work fine. But if you're talking a large project, go to the cloud if you can. If you don't need access outside of the office, you probably don't need a cloud database. You could, if you wanted to save money, you could use an Access database. Multiple people can be on an Access database at the same time. The thing is, most of us are outside of the office anyways nowadays, so that's almost, just don't use that. I could have actually taken that out. You can get locked into the that particular database. If you choose a database, it's really a lot of trouble to change databases after a few years because you're so ingrained into that. So be aware that if you choose an option for a database, you may be with that database for the next 5 to 10 years. Does that database system, that option, whatever, does it have enough clout to keep on going for 5 or 10 years? Will it be doing updates? Will it be getting better? Does it do upgrades? That kind of stuff. You got to make sure that you know that beforehand. If you get the latest and greatest, this newfangled online database, well, will it be still around in 5 years or 2 years? And in most cases, you do need an internet connection to do the cloud. In most cases, some of them do have offline abilities, but most of them do not. When you are looking for a database, keep in mind, what kind of value do you want to get for this piece of software? Is it the right tool for the job? Ask yourself that, and bring in, if you don't know what those are, bring in someone that actually knows databases to help you with these kind of questions. There are a lot of price level differences. Some are, you spend $100 a year and you get as many users as you want. Well, it may not be as robust as one that you spend $25 a user a month. So there's a lot of price level differences in databases, and a lot of them are either monthly, yearly, or a block of users, etc. We'll go over a couple of those here soon. What is the usability of the exports? Can you export directly to Excel? Can you export reports? Like one of the main reasons we haven't moved our CREP database out of Access is because I can build those reports to look exactly the way I want it, formatting wise. Cells are put in the exact place we want, whereas most of these online databases don't have reports that you can just hit a button and it prints out exactly the way you want it. It just kind of prints out something. It gets the information out, but it doesn't look exactly the way you want. And you have to know if your system that you're looking at, the reports out of it are what you want. Is it easy to move to another system? Some of them are and some of them are not. Just make sure you know if you do need to do that, that might be a good thing to look at later on, long term. Interface requirements, browser compatibility, not as big of an issue today, but it is still somewhat of an issue, especially when you're dealing with mobile. And then mobile, is it mobile friendly? Does that online cloud database have a mobile friendly app, or does it run directly to a browser on, does it run well on a browser on a mobile application? Some of them do, some of them do not, and some of them look like they've been pieced together by a 2-year-old. Yeah, I've seen some bad ones, but a lot of them are coming around and they have apps just for their databases. Other things you need to keep in mind, what are the features you want? Does it give you the reports that help you make the decisions? So when you're looking for these databases, go to the people that actually need those reports and say, hey, what do you need out of these reports? What are you looking for in a report? And if they give you something that is not able to be brought out of that database, don't use that database. It's a kind of a backwards way of thinking for a lot of people. Go to the end user first and ask them what they want and then find out. If you don't do that, you will run into problems when they do ask for that report 6 months down the line after you've gotten that report, after you've gotten that database system. So ask people what kind of reports they want. Does it do most of the things you want? I should bold that most in there, because most databases will not do everything you want. But they will do it okay, just not do everything you want. And you have to work around those, do some troubleshooting and workarounds and that kind of stuff. Does it solve the problems you want to be solved? It seems like a very simplistic thing. It's like, of course it's going to solve my problems, but you need to list out your problems. It's like, these are the issues we have, and then you can go through that checklist and go, hey, does this particular database solve this particular problem? And then you have to list out your must-haves and wants. It goes back to some of the things, most of the things you want. It will have some things and it won't have others. It has to have this. I just want this kind of thing. This is a big one. And lately, most of them have something like this. A lot of them have a more comprehensive notifications. So email notifications are a big thing. So you can get notifications of, this date has passed, or this date is coming up. You need to do this, or this person has finished their task. Now you have to take it over. That kind of stuff. Dashboards and user control, also really good things. User control, it seems another weird thing to have, but if you can't control the users coming in and out easily, you're going to have issues down the road. The dashboards, it just makes the end user, it makes them have a little easier time with dealing with the database and using it. Is the UI user interface intuitive? Does someone get in there and automatically know how to navigate it. Some of them do, some of them do not. Some of them, there is a huge bell curve on learning. But after you learn, it's a great database. But if your users are only in there 2-3 times a month, you may need to get something that's more intuitive for them to use, or use dashboards, that kind of stuff. Does that database have tech support? This is a big thing. A user community is great sometimes, but being able to call someone up and say, hey, how do I do this? That is a good thing. Some of the databases, especially the newer ones, just don't have the tech support out there for you to actually get good tech support and get help. When you're dealing with a database and looking for a database, form a strategic plan. Plan what you're going to do, write it all down, and especially if you're going to a third party to build your database, you should have everything laid out in Excel files, maybe some PowerPoints, these tables attached to these tables, that kind of thing. You need to have it all out there and ready for that when they give you that quote and say, yep, we'll do this for $2,000. But then as soon as you say, well, we want to add this, well, there's another $200. Well, we want to add that, there's another $200, and so on and so forth. Form that plan and try to stick with it as much as possible. I mean, I do this when I'm planning out a database. I have a plan to build that database so that I have something to reference back to if I need to. And this is one that's been around for many years, probably 3 decades now. If you put garbage into your database, you're going to get garbage out. And this goes with, if you don't put anything in the database, you're not going to get anything out. So if your users aren't using this database and you want to get that information out, those reports out, well, it's not going to show you the correct report because the users have not put in that data. So a couple of the options that different districts have started to use over the last few years. One you've probably heard about is Smartsheets. Well, I've said it on this one. And it costs, this is approximate, I think that was our last bill, $747 per year for 3 licensed users. And the 3 licensed users has actually been okay. There's me, my boss, and Nicole have those 3 licensed user accounts. But then you have unlimited users for the rest of the people. They can't build sheets, they can't modify fields, but they can use those sheets. And it's been working for us pretty well with just 3 licensed users. And if you need to, you can easily add more. As we said, unlimited users, 300 sheets. I just checked today, we have 243 sheets after about 2 years of use. So we might have to be either deleting old sheets that are not being used, or increasing the amount of sheets. And you have 300 gigabytes of storage. That may seem like a lot, but when you start adding attachments in, especially if you're attaching photos of receipts, attaching different grant PDFs or Word documents, that kind of stuff, it does get up there quite a bit. And in Smartsheets, there is a proofing abilities for a sheet. So you can send out a proof to anyone you want, and they can, for us, we use it for PDFs and especially videos. We send videos out to different people so they can actually go through it and say, no, I don't like this and I don't like that. And they can actually put in little notes at the second they want in that video and where they want in that video. And that's a proofing feature on Smartsheets. If I have time, I'll show it to you. But when you're uploading a 250 megabyte file for video and you're doing a whole bunch of them, that 300 gigabytes might go pretty quickly. As I said, flat file format for Smartsheets, that's a general term for these types of databases. And because it looks somewhat like Excel and it looks like a spreadsheet, people do have an easier time getting into it and using it versus other database systems. But then there's a lot of the back end stuff that it gets a little bit more difficult to use. Intuit QuickBase, normally just called QuickBase, but Intuit does QuickBooks. They own TurboTax, a whole bunch of different companies inside of Intuit, and they're the ones that own QuickBase. So it's going to be around for a while, and it has a good backing, and it actually integrates with QuickBooks pretty well too, from what I understand. We have yet to do that. So we're on the $25 a user per month right now. But there is a new system that they started up recently. It's instead of doing it by user, it's by reads. And it is over here. You can see this is a quote that I got from a QuickBase representative. Now we can do it by, it's essentially by usage instead of by user. So we can have 10 full accounts, and this is for a 60 user setup, this left one here. And you can have medium amount of users, 50, and it's a lot less cost than $25 per user per month. So it can, if your users are only going in there a few times a month or a few times a week, you might want to go with the reads instead of the user setup. But if they're in there every day working, a user setup might be a great way to do it. I'm going to look into doing this for our conservation district, and if people wanted to go with QuickBase for a statewide database for different projects, that might be the way to go, reads instead of users. And again, this is a relational database. You can have 50 applications, 50 applications, and right now I think we're running like 6 or 7 different applications over the years, and some of them are old and some of them are copies. And you get 36 gigabytes of storage, and you can pay for larger storage if you want. And that's just in the applications. I think there's attachments it can get bigger. But you do have to, if you're doing the users per month, the minimum is 20 last time I checked. So you have to have 20 users. We have 13 right now, but that's because when we got it, the minimum was 10, and they won't allow us to add another one without going up to 20 users. And that's where it gets really pricey really quick. But if you went with the reads setup instead of the user setup, it might work out better. QuickBase is pretty easy to use and easy to learn how to build it and whatnot. And because it's a relational database, it's a little bit easier for project data storage, not necessarily project management. It's a little confusing there, but it is very, very robust. But we use both QuickBase and Smartsheets for 2 different types of things. And you can't control the printed reports very well. Another one out there is Caspio. I've heard good and bad things. It's a little harder to use, but it does only cost $100. Oh, that's not $100 a month. That's $100 a year. Sorry, that should be year. So it's $100 a year, and you get unlimited users. So as many as you want, but you only get 20 data pages and 500,000 records and 5 gigabytes file storage. So depending on what you're doing for your databases and what kind of stuff you're working with, this may be the best option for you. I believe the state employee database that CTD handles, I think, is done through Caspio, and that is a relational database. And then there's stuff like Salesforce, and the $25 a user is, again, that's small, but I believe Homish is moving away from this. If you want stories on this, talk to them. I think they were paying $75 a user a month. It is way overkill for what a district needs. Salesforce is built for customer relations, not for storing customer data and project management. It's not something I would suggest, but it is an option if you really want. But I would suggest not going that way at all, because you can get Smartsheets and QuickBase for that same $75 a month. And of course, there are tons more. You just have to do a project management database Google search, and you'll come up with, what are the 10 best project management databases of 2020 kind of thing. And there's tons of them out there. Now I'm going to go into a demo of QuickBase, and then hopefully, yes, I'll be able to do a demo of Smartsheets. So this is the QuickBooks interface for an administrator in QuickBooks. Sorry. Damn it. I'm going to lose sound here in a second, Nicole, so I'll have to do something about that in a second. So these are the different ones that we have. The copy is a copy that I made yesterday, so I'm trying not to show PII information.
I think we lost Andrew. I think we lost your audio. I just hear a lot of scratchies. Woo, it's bad. I think this reckons back to your previous talk about working remote options. Always charge your devices. Nope.
It was supposed to be charged.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Okay, and you're back. Yes.
Yeah. My small little headphone did not charge over lunch. So I should have had a wired one for 5 hours. I need 6 hours. So this is a copy of this one, but we have one for our homeowners incentive program in the Lake Whatcom area, and that is shared out between the city, the county, and us. We have multiple users. Everyone can get to it, and all the information for all the projects are stored in there. This one's a small farm expo. Karina built this all by herself, and she wanted something to keep track of all the participants and companies that were coming to the small farm expo, how much they needed, how big of a booth size, the amount they did, when they paid, so on and so forth. And she built this, and she said it worked out pretty well. And she built it in here because of she could drag information from other tables into that, and you can't do that very easily in Smartsheets. So the other one I wanted to show you is our livestock database, and this is as an admin, this is my screen that I see, and this calendar is something that we don't use anymore. It's just still up there, but we can show different filters on the left-hand side here. But if I wanted to, one of the great things about QuickBase is if I wanted to see this as a different user that is not admin, I can do that. I'm gonna look at it like Pauline sees it. And that's her homepage. And it goes to different locations. Like this will take you to a certain report or a certain table. And we made it nice and simple for the end user to get in here and do that because people were having issues navigating it. So we made it very simple. And if I wanted to end the test as Pauline, I can, but you can take, before I end it, you can take a look at the tables that they have available to them right here. Well, when I end it, you'll see lots more tables show up. Now, these tables are the ones that they do not need to see because they might be lists of watersheds. Well, they don't need to see the watersheds. That's just used in a drop-down menu when they're choosing which watershed that customer is in. They don't need to see that. They have cultural resource notes. They may not need to see that. Or they only need to see it in a form. So if we go to STAP, if we go here, you can see those other tables. If they came into here, you could see those other tables in here. They don't need to see them at the top, which gets confusing for the user. It's like, okay, which one of these 15 tables do I need to get into? Making it as simple as possible for the user. So this is just a kind of a basic form for a user, a customer in this case. So we have all their information, and we have extra notes down here, and we have other tables that we can show in a small report that show these are the projects we're working on. These are the inspection dates. These are the P&I notes for that person. These are additional locations, additional contacts, son, daughter, whatever. Those are extra tables that add onto this. So I can have 5 different contacts for this one customer because I have an additional contacts table. And if I need to edit it, I just go in and I edit it. And they need a parcel number in here. And you can do regular check marks, whatever. And if I wanted to customize this form, I can go over here to the right side and add in a field that I don't want or move it around. Well, I want watershed to go up 1, go up 1. No, let's make it 2. And then I can save it, and watersheds has moved up a couple. I keep getting that. Let's see, where's watersheds? There's watersheds. It moved up from down here to up there. You can move that around, and this is where it's not really manipulative in here. You can't do it exactly where you want it, but for most reasons, you can have a form that looks like this because you're just storing information in it. And you can also use the mailing addresses. I took them all out, but you can hit this button and it would locate that mailing address. And then if you want, you can go into other settings for this particular table. So we're in customer settings, and you can see the structure of the entire database in this case. Where are these customers? These are all the fields in customers, and where do they go to? And you can see we have projects, messages, outreach, and so on and so forth. And then if we wanted to add more fields, we can add them in here. It's pretty simple to add them. And you notice here, all these are the linkages to other tables. And you can add formulas. So if I wanted to say how many P&I notes do I have, you can actually create a formula to say you have 32 P&I notes. And another great thing about QuickBase is if you want to, you can take information from one table and put it into another table. So from a subtable, let's see if we have one in here, table to table relationships, we should. You can actually have a relationship between customers and projects. And this is the information in the projects table, and this is the information in the customer table. But you can see the projects, you can actually have the projects information show up in a summary setting in the parent table. Done. It's really, after you learn how to do this, it's really simple to come in and do that kind of stuff. And for notifications and subscriptions, you can create notifications in here that will, hey, we need to send out an email list. We do this on the 1st of every month. Send it to these 2 email addresses. Done. It'll remind them. Or if triggers happen, like this date shows up, you can add those in there. Let's see what time, how much time. Okay. So that is a very quick showing of QuickBase. Some of you have probably already seen the Smartsheets. This is Smartsheets, and this is the, let's see, let's go down to, this is the flat file system I was talking about. And this is our grant contract list. So each grant has its own folder with a sheet in it, and in that folder, actually, let's go back to that. Let's go to nitrate project budget sheet. In that folder is this sheet, and it has not been filled out. That's not very helpful. VC ARM. I did not think this one through. Oh, there we go. So all of these will be taken, all these unexpended, expended will be taken into the contract master sheet, and the pertinent information is dumped into here with some, how much time has elapsed, how much money do we have left, a little icon here to say how much. We're 70%, 76% done, and it's a easy blue bar in there that will show up. And when was the last time this sheet was modified, and so on and so forth. But the average user can come in here to this master sheet and click on one of them, and it opens in there. And I can maximize, minimize, and all the grant information comes from our bookkeeper. She goes through, does it in QuickBooks, and then brings it in here and dumps the information in here. It's kind of also a double check. And she's putting it in here, and it's like, how does it reference to last month's, and so on and so forth. So our grant managers can come in here or just go to our grant master sheet and see what's going on. Now, all of this also, let's see, which one? That one, I think. All of the other federal, commission, county, and other districts all get funneled into that, which then gets funneled into, I think, that one. Yeah. See, now I have to. Nope. See, even I have to. This is why I use dashboards instead of coming into here and do it. Yeah. So all of those go into pie charts that I can't seem to find right now. Did I already open this one? I did. Oh well. Yeah, somewhere around here there's a pie chart. But another great thing about Smartsheets is we can do our board meeting agenda portal. So this is actually viewable by the public. You can come in here and it shows us the agenda for what's coming up. And in there, we also you can actually add stuff to the board meetings. And then the agendas, they all get pulled from here. And we have all of our archived agendas as well. I'm doing this pretty quick. And then dashboards, we got lots of dashboards, but the main dashboard is our staff dashboard. There it is. And this is where the staff members go to get information about what's going on or ask for help from the admin staff, a link to our timesheets, put in credit card receipts, ask for leave, see other people's leave, that kind of stuff are all in here. We also have policies and guidance in here. And it works out really well for a just one-stop shop to start out with. We also use this for timesheet signing. So when all of our timesheets are ready to be signed, she'll create a PDF, put it in our SharePoint, and come in here and uncheck this. I'm not going to do it yet because it actually automates and sends out a message to each person saying, you need to sign this timesheet. And then they go into this location on our SharePoint and sign that timesheet and then come back here and say, okay, I'm done. And that means that the district manager can come in there and sign it. It's just a way of us keeping track of who signed the timesheet, who still needs to sign their timesheet, so on and so forth. Now, let's see if I can find my proofs. Nope. Proofs and reviews. So this one, I don't know if a lot of people know about this. This is a proofing system. So someone can come in, like this is a video, and you're not going to be able to hear much of it or whatnot, and it'll be jerky. But let's say I don't like this caption down here. I can click on it and then write a comment. I don't like this. And then that comment is put right there at that time frame in that video. And the same kind of thing happens for audio and PDFs as well. And you can come in here and send this out to many, many people, and they can see what other people have said. And then you can invite other people. And you don't have to be a user per se of Smartsheets. You do have to create an account, I think. But then you can actually do different versions. And the administrator can actually see all the versions, but the user can only see the one user. Okay, Nicole, I think that's it. Are there any questions? I know I went through a lot of that quickly, but if you guys do need a one-on-one rundown, just let me know.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. We had a couple questions come in. One was a comment. when you were going over different databases, Sarah mentioned that they are moving. So this was at Snohomish you were talking about. True, we are moving from Salesforce. We were paying about $25,000 a year, not able to use all the features, so it was way overkill. So that was a big reason that they're moving. And then there was a question, Kelly asks, are there any other CDs using QuickBase? And does any of the data stored in your QuickBase account then transfer to things like CPDS or other commission reporting processes easily, or are you entering things double?
Nothing goes into CPDS. We do this, most of the stuff that we put into CPDS is CREP stuff, and there are some small farm stuff, but we create a report in Access for our CREP and then just go through those reports and input them into CPDS. So we are doing it double. Can different databases link up together? Some of them can, but I haven't done it. If you want to spend the money, you can have someone do it for you as well. But there are ways of doing that. But we are essentially putting things in two different places when we need to use CPDS. We only use CPDS if we have to use CPDS. Sorry, Commission. As for how many people are using QuickBase, I'm not sure of anyone else that is actually using QuickBase. Most people are trying to use Smartsheets, and it works for a lot of things, and then it doesn't work for a lot of things. That's why we've kept QuickBase, is because there are certain things one does that it does a lot better than the other one. And it mostly comes down to relational databases.
Thanks, Andrew. Yes, we do have to use CPDS quite a bit. It'd be nice if it was a one for all, but I even know Smartsheet doesn't integrate. Nothing integrates directly to CPDS. I will say one thing you can do is build whatever you do, enter things in regularly, build it in the same columns or form information that you need, and then it imports a lot easy. Or create one in the background, even if, like, they ask for weird stuff and you have a lot more columns and whatever you create, do what your functionality is in the foreground, and you can do like an automatic cell kind of upload into whatever has to go in a CPDS. And in Smartsheet, that is a functionality. That's something like QuickBase, you don't have the ability to add background sheets for autofilling, but I know things can come out of it. Yeah. But I know, Andrew, and folks, I'll just remember, please enter in any other questions you may have, or just raise your hand. You can unmute and ask your question directly. And so I will say, so Access Database is something that folks have used for a long time. What's the pluses or minuses of still using it? What are ways that you still have to use Access Database versus moving to these online databases? Is there certain ways you have to keep using Access?
Yeah, the biggest reason to not use Access is if you need to work outside of the office. If you're in the office or on one machine, Access databases work great. The problem is, as soon as you get especially the blended work environment, people at home and that kind of stuff, Access databases do not work very well. We have to use a remote desktop to actually use Access databases when we're at home. We use remote desktop to fire up Access in the office so that we can actually put in information. But if you just need, like, maybe 2 people need to use it, you can do it that way. But it is not a lot of people use it as much anymore because there's better stuff online. It just costs more. And we're still using Access databases for our CREP stuff because it's 20 years old at this point, 20-something years old. We've got a lot of data into it, and we don't have the funding to actually take it and move it over to an online database right now. And it doesn't allow us to do perfect formatted reporting. Online databases don't. Access allows me to put every little cell, square, sized columns, whatever. I could make it fit a form that needs to be filled out. Like if the commission said, fill this form out and gave us a PDF, I can build something that fits exactly that PDF form that we can print out in Access. I cannot do that in online databases. There are ways of taking it from like QuickBase or Smartsheets and copying it into something like Excel and then using Word to create a report, but it's not very efficient, but it is possible.